Now, yesterday, NSSF received a 3.3 billion check from UMEME as dividends after after UMEME paid its shareholders. Now, of course, NSSF rather is the third largest institutional investor in the utility company with 14.27% of the shares. That, of course, translated into the 3.3 billion. Well, to discuss this and what this initial dividend or the dividend from UMEME to its shareholders means to both the economy and the shareholders, on Newsnight with Andrew Mwenda in a moment. Welcome back. Andrew Mwenda, the old man of the clan, CEO of the Independent magazine. Andrew, yesterday UMEME did hold
grandfather to Morris Medisha.
Yesterday UMEME did hold a press briefing with NSSF when they were handing over this huge check of 3.3 billion, and it seemed as, you know, how do you call it, a good story for NSSF to tell and say we made the right investment when we actually bought shares in UMEME.
You see, there are two things. First of all, I always have the last laugh on UMEME. Many people, you got
because you pushed for this.
Yes, and I wish I could have the liberty to say how NSSF bought the initial shares. First of all, let me explain the following things. This dividend they paid is not on the 14% they own right now.
Yes.
It is on the 8% they had bought in December 2012.
Yes.
Because this money that is being paid is dividends for the year 2013, the performance of UMEME. And the total dividends paid out to UMEME shareholders is 23 billion. Now, let me explain to you this. NSSF bought, I think, about 180 million shares in UMEME in the initial offering. After buying it, they bought it at 275 shillings per share. Right, so they spent 50 billion. Right now, the share has gone up by 115 shillings. It is 390. So the total value of the initial IPO, which was 50 billion, right now, the total value of that stock is 70 billion. Just imagine you are saving with NSSF that they invested in something just under 2 years ago, which was worth 50 billion. Now the net worth of that thing is 70 billion, 20 billion more. The other last year in 2012, they were rather in 2013, they were paid dividends for 2012 of 2.3 billion. Now they are being paid another 3 billion.
Yes.
More. This is the best investment. And let me tell you.
Yes.
Are you aware that the Minister of Finance of Uganda wrote a letter to the chairman of the board of NSSF saying, in this second listing of NSSF, the second public offering, SPO, the Minister of Finance of Uganda wrote saying, don't buy. The problem is that they had already bought. They had already bought. The workers, representatives on the board of NSSF, have petitioned the Minister of Finance, said, don't buy shares in UMEME. You are ruining workers' savings. I am a worker. You are a worker.
I have money in NSSF, yes.
I am the happiest and most satisfied saver with NSSF.
When it
How
makes
about
money,
you?
of course, excited.
So,
but they are concerned.
do this,
Yes.
Maurice, let me ask you a question. And I've discussed this with the President. I've asked the President personally. I said, Mr. President, why did you get these workers' representatives on the board of NSSF? Because unionized workers on NSSF,
yes.
they represent 11% of the total membership of NSSF. But
Yes.
listen to this, they represent less than 4% of the total subscriptions of money. So how can this 4% take control of 60% of the board of NSSF? We, me and you, are workers, we are not unionized, and therefore we are not represented. So this gang of so-called workers MP supported by people like Lyomoki, I think that we need to organize a large demonstration we call Kale Kaihura with the other workers and force the president to get these people off the board of NSSF.
Do you think they are determined to investment, really? As
workers,
board members?
do you know what they
because
got to
they
do
have
there?
They have interest for workers.
Their aim is, which workers? You see, that's the question.
The 4% we're talking about.
Well, let me even give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
Let me assume that these workers, MPs, actually represent the interests of workers. In this case, from the figures of UMEME, they are not representing the interests of workers. Because UMEME is one of the most valued companies in the world, and the best way to test the value of a company is to take it on the stock market. When you take a company, Maurice, on the stock market, who decides? It is the market. When you saw 100 international equity funds coming to invest in UMEME in Uganda, when just 12 years ago in 2011, rather 2001, when the Uganda Electricity Distribution Company was put on the market for sale, everybody said, that one you can't touch. It's a stinking, dirty, corrupting, incompetent thing. Don't touch it.
All right. Despite the fact that you actually pushed NSSF and government into buying shares into UMEME in the initial offer in 2012,
and now I'm a happy old man celebrating.
Yes. Geraldine Sally, who's been the acting MD, says there's still concerns with the NSSF Act and the fact that there's bureaucratic processes in clearing investments and that these need to be avoided if NSSF is actually to make money, because some decisions, it's easy for me and you, if we had a company, a joint company, to make a quick decision to invest on the stock exchange, but it would be very hard for NSSF to make a decision in one day.
Why? First of all, can you imagine, they're saying that for NSSF to buy stock shares on the stock market,
yes,
it must get the Solicitor General to approve, the Attorney General, PPDA. The minister has to finally give. The minister gave the instruction, the IPO, on an instruction of the president. She was literally forced to have these political appointees deciding when and where NSSF should invest is dangerous. Because if NSSF is competing in the market, it means that Morris, who can make a decision at the flash of a fingernail, NSSF has to last 3 months. Even on the stock market, I personally think that NSSF, if they're making an investment, it is the investment committee and the board that should approve. The minister should not be involved. PPDA, IGG, let them go bury themselves in the sea.
But who then will get involved in playing the oversight role? Because at least the
board,
the Solicitor General,
the board of NSSF can play the oversight function. The other oversight, if you have a complaint, go to the courts of law.
It is very easy to deal with the board. It's a number of people, and you could easily bribe all of them if you're making a very bad decision
so
and you want the NSSF to invest. For example,
the officials in the office of the IGG cannot be bribed?
No, they can. But you see,
what of our cash-stranded members of parliament?
And you Minister of Finance?
If they can be bribed with 5 million to change the constitution and remove term limits on the president here, 5 million out of NSSF.
And well said. We will still come back to Uganda's culture of investing on the stock exchange, which is very bad. But we will come to that on another day. Well, that was Newsnight.